3:13 in the morning, and the whole eighth floor sounded like a smoke alarm trapped inside a drum. Somewhere above my head, a mom was screaming, "Not the kind you make for show, the kind that rips out of your ribs before you even know you're making it." I was 2 floors down in Riverton City Hospital, shoes sticking to the old tile, holding my sister Nia's inhaler like it was a winning lottery ticket and a live grenade at the same time. I'd heard that scream before, 3 years earlier, when Nia turned the color of dishwater, and I stood there thinking love should be enough, and it wasn't. Security had already decided I didn't belong. Mr. Briggs had the look, chin-up hand, hovering near the radio like I was a one-man crime wave in a thrift store jacket. "What's your angle, kid?" he said, eyeing my beat-up notebook like it was a lockpick set. "My angle is my sister breathes tonight," I told him, keeping my voice flat, polite, small. That trick you learn when people read danger, where there's just a skinny black kid who refuses to panic. The radio popped on his shoulder, code red VIP suite, pediatric seizure doctors tied up. The mom's voice bled through the static. That noise slid under my skin and pressed on every bad memory. I looked at Naya, tired eyes. Little chest working too hard, brave as always. She squeezed my fingers. "Jalen," she whispered, "if you can help a kid up there, you got a Trinity. Funny thing about fear, it talks loud, but it doesn't know math." I'd done the math 1,000 nights at our kitchen table with Naya, asleep on the couch and me sketching lungs and little lightning bolts over a brain, copying words I barely understood until I did. I stood up. Mr. Briggs stepped in front of me. "You're not going anywhere near that floor. Then you're stopping me from doing the one thing I'm good at," I said. "Recognizing a pattern before it kills someone." He snorted. "From what YouTube? From loving somebody who runs out of air while the pharmacy runs out of mercy." He hesitated. Naya coughed, that thin whistle cutting like a wire. I handled her rescue plan with steady hands I didn't feel I owned. We'd trained for this, me counting, her trusting. When her color came back, Briggs's shoulders dropped an inch. He wasn't convinced, but he'd just watched me keep a promise. The elevator dinged. I stepped in like a man walking into a storm. Room 816 door, blown open by panic. A boy no older than 8, thrashing against a bed that looked like a boat in a hurricane. His mom, the kind of put together that says private driver and seats near the court, was suddenly just a human with mascara washed down to her jaw. The monitor screamed red numbers I didn't need to memorize to understand, too high, too long. A nurse with tired kindness, Carla, according to her badge, had both hands on the kid's shoulders, and 4 years of protocols fighting 15 minutes of reality. "Who are you?" the mom snapped, voice hoarse, desperate. "Jalen," I said, "the kid who can help if you let him." Carla squared to me. "This is a sterile room. You need to step—" "Look at him," I said, pointing without touching, because 2 floors down I'd learned how to show respect while moving fast. "He's past the part where waiting is neutral. We either interrupt the storm or watch it burn out the power grid." The mom's eyes locked on mine. Something in them recognized the way my voice shook and still didn't break. "Do it," she said. "If you make it worse, I'll take your head off. If you make it better, I'll owe you forever." "Fair," I said. We turned the chaos into a plan. Not magic little things. Positioning so he didn't choke on his own body's confusion. Counting like metronome prayers. I talked steady the way I used to talk Naya back from the edge, low and certain, so the storm had to hear me. At 51 Mississippi, the kid slid out of the convulsion like a fish back into water. Everything held still. Even the machines seemed surprised. Carla stared. "How did you don't celebrate yet?" I said, because the monitor had already started whispering trouble in a new accent. The boy's heat rose like a bad idea. The kind of number that cooks memory. The mom she'd been steal started to crack. "Why is he hotter?" "Because the brain's been sprinting uphill for hours," I said, softer now. "Sometimes the fire keeps burning after the wind stops." I glanced at my notebook pages chewed by worry and coffee. For the last year, I'd been tinkering with a cooling, calming idea I'd built out of library books in stubbornness, a way to quiet the brain and invite the body to let go of the heat. Nothing fancy, nothing a corporation could slap a trademark on. It wasn't a miracle. It was a bridge. Carla caught me thinking. "Whatever you're about to say, the answer is no," she warned, but it sounded like a question. "Got a healing garden in this place?" I asked. "3rd floor," she said, automatic, then blinked. "Absolutely not." The mom, Eleanor. I learned later, as in Eleanor Vale, the billionaire behind Vale Biologics, stepped between us. What do you need a handful of things anyone's grandma would know the names of, I said. Plus saline and a prayer. Carla's mouth pulled tight. Rules are a religion until somebody you love needs a loophole. The boy moaned small, awful sound. Eleanor grabbed my sleeve. Go. We ran like we were stealing daylight. The garden was quiet rows of green under soft lamps. I showed Carla what not to touch and what to take the safe parts, the parts old heads used for fevers, before fevers had brand names. Back upstairs, the heat was higher, the seconds meaner. I worked like a kid taking apart a radio. He can't afford to break, careful hands clean surfaces, no cowboy nonsense. It wasn't chemistry class. It was faith with fingerprints. Mr. Briggs appeared in the doorway with two cops behind him, hands on belts, eyebrows already writing the report. This the suspicious minor one of them asked, eyes doing that quick math cops do. Eleanor didn't even look at them. He's the only person in this hospital doing something. You can arrest him later, or you can let him save my son now. Ma'am, we can't. You can, she said, and her voice had that CEO voltage. And you will. We used what we had. We cooled where the body listens, soothed where the brain will take a suggestion. Nothing you could package, everything you could understand. The boys' numbers paused at the cliff like they wanted to think it over. The longest 2 minutes of my life happened right there with four strangers holding our breath in a room that smelled like fear and mint. Then the drop came small, then bigger, like a fever deciding it's tired of being stubborn. His skin lost that boiling shine. His chest found a rhythm that wasn't a fight. The monitor blinked a softer color. Carla let out a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. Eleanor pressed her forehead to her kid's knuckles and whispered something only he needed to hear. Dr. Patel swept in scrubbed cap, tilted eyes, taking in the impossible. He read the chart, looked at the child, then at me. Who are you, Jalen? I said, suddenly aware of my jacket with the ripped pocket and the hole I'd sewn with blue thread, because it was what we had. The officers had their phones out now, someone in the hall showing them a video from a security cam, me walking into the room. Eleanor shoving past protocol like a linebacker with a diamond watch the moment the storm quit. The internet had already made up its mind. For once, it was in favor. Mr. Briggs found me with his eyes. Earlier, suspicion had cracked into something like respect you'd never hear him say. Your sister's asking for you, he murmured, almost gentle. Carla rolled Nia in pajama pants, hair scarf, smile bigger than the whole room. She looked at the boy, now dozy and curious, and then at me, like I'd reached into the sky and tugged a star a little closer. Told you, big bro, she said, squeezing my wrist. You know the patterns. Eleanor straightened, mascara a mess, power rebuilt in a different shape. Jalen, she said, voice steady. Now what you did, I don't have words that good, but I have levers. You're coming to school on my dime. Your family gets care without a clerk asking how you'll pay. And I'm done building medicines that only rich kids reach in time. Derpadhal cleared his throat. We'll document everything that happened here, he said, not quite believing it, even as he wrote it down. We need to learn from it. The cops hung back hats in their hands like a scene from an old movie. One of them, Ruiz, nodded at me. Looks like the city owes you something better than an apology, he said. We'll start there. 6 months later, I walked under brick arches at Lakeview University with that same stitched-up jacket and a backpack that still smelled like bus seats and pencil shavings. Nia ran laps at a community center without stopping to catch a breath that used to hide from her. The kid from 816, his name was Leo, sent me a video of him scoring a soccer goal and falling down. Laughing. Vale Biologics started a program. Even my cynical side couldn't poke holes in cheaper meds, open trials, real community clinics. Some folks on TV called it naive. A lot of moms called it finally. People like to rewrite what happened that night into something shiny. They want to say genius or miracle or fate wearing Vans. Truth is smaller and heavier. I didn't beat the system. I just refused to let it be the only voice in the room. I listened to a pattern poor families know by heart, the one that says while the forms are printing, the body is deciding, and I spoke up like I belonged. Because I did. Because we do. I still get messages, kids in hoodies sending me pictures of notebooks stuffed with furious handwriting, aunties telling me what their hands remembered when there wasn't time to Google it, nurses who say I broke a rule to keep a promise, And yeah, not everyone is happy. Some folks say what happened in 816 was reckless, illegal, a bad story to tell on the internet where people love shortcuts. I hear that. I also hear a mom at 3:13 a.m. and a boy whose brain stopped drowning because four strangers chose courage over choreography. You don't have to believe me. I'm just Jalen from the East Side, the kid who learned that love without knowledge makes you helpless, and knowledge without love makes you dangerous in a different way. I'm trying to live in the space where both hold you up. If you've ever been read as a threat when you were the help, if you've ever watched a rule book argue with a pulse, tell me what you think. Did we do the right thing in that room? Or did we cross a line the world needs intact? Drop your city, drop your story. Tell me where you've seen a door open for the wrong reason and somebody brave enough to walk through anyway. And if you believe medicine should find the people who need it, not the other way around, say it with me in the comments, right? Is right, even at 3:13 a.m.